Well, I'm going to be honest. Oh, hi, Internet. I'm back. Making this crazy pirate game. All I did off screen, well, I did a couple things. So I copied, pasted in the conversation so we have, for historical purposes, we can see what it is. It's interesting when you copy from that website, it puts the AI-generated text in bold, which is helpful. That's good to see that. Anyway, I worry I've bitten off more than I can chew, but we're just going to go for this. I think I'm going to start with platforming physics, right? We'll do this the Mario 64 way. It's got to feel good to run and jump, and until that happens, what are we even doing? What are you doing? What is it generated? Pirate.drink. Pirate, how's the rum? How is the... What? Where does it get this stuff? So the other thing I did off screen that's nothing to do with this was I had looked around for online art generation tools, like AI ones. Are there any AI art generation tools? And there are some, but they just don't do... I mean, unless I just went for an intentionally ugly game, right, where it looked like a bunch of random MS Paint shit moving all over the place. Like, I mean, I guess I could do that. Maybe I should. Maybe I will. Maybe that's just the thing we have to do to get anything out of this. And maybe that's more lols, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's a good idea. There's some part of me that's like, but I want it to look good. But this is AI generated, and if that's what AI can generate is a mismatch of weird graphics, then maybe that's what I should go for. Okay, so I'm going to need some things. I need a world to explore. It's going to consist of tiles. And the world is going to be split into chunks. Let me think about this. I don't know that I need... Do I need chunk as a game concept? I want to do the Minecraft-y, you know, any kind of large world thing. I mean, even non-procedurally generated, where you load in chunks of the world as you go. And I don't know that I need chunk as a concept. I think there's going to be a database that contains, or, you know, a file, whatever. I mean, I might use like SQLite or something just to have a database to store things in rather than trying to write things to file, to disk, kind of by hand. But anyway, regardless, when you get far enough away from some tiles, we're going to unload them from memory. And as you get closer to stuff, we'll load them from this file/database, and if they're not there, we'll generate them, you know, and then stick them in the database, that kind of thing. I don't know that I need chunks. I think I can just say that, you know, every 100 X tiles, or, you know, whatever, every 100 tiles left and right, that can just be a new chunk. And we can even do it the classic Minecraft way, where it goes from top to bottom. It doesn't matter. Those sorts of implementation details we can get when, you know, when we get there. But I guess what I'm going to want at some point, I don't know if I'm doing this kind of too soon, but so there is going to be this service. Let me make a services thing. I'll set up like a DI framework and everything later. I'll use Microsoft's, but yeah, there's going to be some sort of like world service that's responsible for loading, you know, in new tiles, generating them when they're not there, keeping them in a database, unloading old ones, things like that. I think tiles can just be an X and a Y. That's exactly right. We don't need a Z. This is a 2D game. I was hoping that the AI is really good sometimes. But I do want more than that. I just love that it says, oh, a new line. You must not want a Z, right? Like, I don't know. That's really cool to me. But I think I'm going to want a tile type. And just because, you know, I've been talking about Minecraft as a comparison, because I'm going to procedurally generate this world left to right, or Terraria. That doesn't mean it has to be a game about tearing up the blocks. It's a natural way to go. I never played Moria, and that has like the fun pixel physics thing, and that would have been an interesting thing to do. And I did see a video online once about how you make those kinds of things. I think big chunky blocks is going to serve me better in terms of, again, doing things quickly. I mean, there is also a case, maybe, you know, maybe it's polygons from left to right. Maybe it doesn't have to be tiles at all. We can just have a height map. But we're going to want things like caves, right? Caves are great. Polygons would be interesting. So the reason I was thinking that is in terms of having the computer generate stuff, if it generated a texture and we just filled in a polygon with the texture, that might be in some ways easier. But man, collisions with this is where tiles are great. Colliding with tiles is way easier, and I think for that reason, I'm just going to do tiles rather than polygons. Sorry, I'm thinking aloud. I worry that this series, this is going to be a series. I worry that there's going to be a lot of this. But anyway, so let's have a tile type. I don't know what all, a lot of stuff might go in here later. Like, I'm going to want angles for fast, movement, I think, in terms of moving, moving feeling good, like I was just talking about a second ago. We don't want you to hit hard blocks, edges of blocks. You should have slopes. So that might, there might be other stuff going on besides just a tile type. You might want some information to hold that angle. Yeah, that's pretty good. Water and land. That's an interesting suggestion. Again, I've said that I want to go with suggestion. It is a pirate game, but it says you're on an island, and it's a small island. So that suggests not a procedurally generated world, doesn't it? Unless you go up and down. Maybe you go down into inside the island, like underground. Yeah, I think that has to be true. It's a small island. We shouldn't infinitely generate left to right. And we could even do something weird and say it loops. After you get to X 1000, it loops around or something. Ooh, yeah, I like this. And that's a little different too. And then there's a lot of, verticality in terms of movement is a little more interesting. Then we're going to want like wall jumps and stuff, which I guess I'll code. I don't know. That's not something I really, like a long time ago. Like, of course, I've tried it. But again, like I was mentioning in a previous video, I never went real far with it. So water and land are interesting tile types. Oh no, do I have to do water physics? Because I really don't want to. Terraria's water physics are better than Minecraft's. I think it gets away with that because it's 2D. Do I want water physics? I really don't. Maybe we generate the world and you can't modify it. I don't know. I'll worry about that when I get there. Going up and down, definitely yes. Water, land. Land is too generic. I'm sorry, AI, I'm deleting your thing. I want, like, there's going to be dirt, and there's going to be stone, and there's going to be tree trunk. Like, that should be a tile type, right? To have a tree trunk. And then leaves. You could have leaves. Yeah, I guess I should go, what else does the AI suggest? Sand, grass. I mean, I guess. Rock? How is that different from stone? Snow? Oh, the island could have a mountain. Okay. Waterfall. Okay, I'm stopping now because I'm going to get myself in trouble. Okay, I'm deleting stone because rock and stone are the same dang thing. Okay, these are going to be the tile types. We'll work with this for now. The AI is going to suggest something useful. What else will it suggest? Override toString. That's interesting. Just an X and Y coordinate. I mean, I guess. I don't know if I'll really use that. If the object is null or the type doesn't equal the type, then it's false. Tile equals tile object. If the X and Y are the same, then we say the tiles are equal. If the positions are the same. Would I use such a thing? I don't think so. I'm going to look things up by X and Y coordinate. I mean, there's going to be a dictionary for the world. I think that's going to be the best way to look stuff up. Ooh, if there's a dictionary, no, I'm good. Yeah, but actually, let's make another maybe another thing. We'll call it a point, I guess, or a coordinate. Ooh, but there's also two kinds of coordinates. I'm saying ooh a lot. So there's going to be the coordinates of the tiles, but you're going to be subtile moving around, right? So thinking. I guess I could store your position as floats, the world position as floats, and have the tiles be integers. Okay, I don't know. I'm not going to do a coordinate thing. I'm just thinking of what I want. So let me get this world service. There's going to be some sort of dictionary, a tuple of ints, and that's going to reference a tile, right? To a tile. And we would call these loaded tiles. Yeah, and I don't know. how exactly we'll do that. Okay, but yeah, how exactly we'll do the loading, who cares? Okay, I'm gonna make a character. As soon as possible, I want something on the screen. That is the way to make anything get, you know, minimum viable product, the minimum of minimums, right? I want a character who can move side to side, and that'll be good enough. So we're gonna have, presumably these ghosts are going to be surviving. I assume there's going to be things in the world, other things moving. And it'll be the little people, which will be fun. It'll be fun to have little tiny things. Oh, and I wonder what the scale difference should be, because it would be cool if, like, on one tile there were like multiple little houses, right? Like each of the little people could be just 2 pixels tall or something. And do I want to go for pixel aesthetic? That's my default, but we're letting the AI generate art. God, there's so many questions. Okay. Let's make a new class, though. This will be, I don't know what we want to call this. It's any kind of, I can't say object. I guess I would call it a thing. It's anything with a position that you might move around, or that might move around on the world map. Or not, because I think the little houses. I really want to use the word object, so I guess I'll do thing. And it's not a class, it's an interface. So this would have a X float and a Y float. Ooh, width and a height. Are we going to do rectangles for everything? I mean, I guess that is easiest. Something I did for Mysterious Space, rather than do polygons, I just had basically, there were a number of rectangles that could make up something's hitbox. So rather than having one hitbox, I could have multiple hitboxes, basically, that I would fit together to make a slightly more interesting shape. But it was all still rectangles, because rectangles are really easy to collide with, or, you know, do the math for. But for now, I think I'm happy to do width and height. I didn't mean to press enter there. Rotation, no, I'm going to trump you on that, AI. I do not want to rotate these things. Again, because collision is too hard. I need this to be easy to make. I'm already worried about the scope. It would have an appearance. How would we know how to draw this thing? Yeah, it's going to have to know like what sprite sheet it uses. And I'm thinking a little bit ahead. And potentially a sprite index. But that could change over time. Also, this is a interface. I think as long as you can get the things, we don't need to define, we don't need to require setters. So yeah, I mean, we would need to know a sprite index out of the sprite sheet to draw with. And then I can have something that draws things. And then I will have other objects that are, you know, a thing and as a component, and then they'll move them around. So let's make like the hero, I guess. If anything, this is kind of like a controller. Is that what I want to call this? I'm kind of making this up off the top of my head. I just don't want to do a horrible mistake that I did make in Mysterious Space, where I just went crazy with inheritance. It's a really bad thing to do. It was really good to do and to see how bad it was. But yeah, composition, that's the way to go. Where you have one thing, you know, one class, and it's got all its little parts in it. So yeah, let's just call this the captain. Let's ask, should I ask CoPilot what the captain's name is? We'll worry about that later. I'll call it player, though. So a player is interesting. I'm going to want to serialize this data. Yeah, let me think about that. I don't think this is the controller yet. So a player has a thing in it. Oh, which I guess, should this actually be a class? God, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. This is, and people can have such opinions about how to architect these things. Player ship? No, why would you do that? This is the pirate game. I mean, okay, I understand pirates have ships. which means, oh my goodness, I do need get and set for all these, since it's not an interface after all. It's one component. So the player has a thing. They're going to have, they're going to be able to move around. They're going to have a velocity of some sort. Do I want to keep that on the player? Yeah, because the player is going to behave. They're going to have very specific physics. They're not going to move like most things. Like a lot of things are going to have, let me think about that. Because some things might move and just ignore physics, right? Like a ghost is going to be like, yeah, I just move where I want. You know, I don't have velocity exactly. I just go places from frame to frame or whatever. I have a target space and I just move toward it based on the time elapsed. Something like that, right? So not everything is going to have velocity. A player probably will. There should be a little bit of sliding to a stop and all that. So let's do that. Let's do like a x velocity, velocity, and we're going to want a y velocity max. That's interesting. We do want you to have some sort of max running speed. I wouldn't call that x velocity though, then I'd call that run speed. Or we can let it fall out of the physics, which I was just saying is a bad idea for a platformer. Let's just do that. Again, I can worry about jumping later. I want to get something running around on the screen. So, and let's not even do it the right way, where we would put in, I'm just going to make like one place where you can move around. I'm going to use, okay, here's another thing. We're going to use monogame for graphics. So let me get in monogame. Whoops. And I do have, it's going to want that content folder and everything. I'm going to have to look how to set that up. I might do that between, but you make a content folder and you make a silly file that's called like content mcgb, I forget, monogame content builder, mgcb maybe? I'll find it from another game and copy that stuff in. There's some boilerplate you have to do. There's a command line tool you can do to make a new monogame project, and I should have used that and it would have set those things up. I'm already far enough in and it's really not that much. I'll just do that off, you know, between recordings or whatever and show you what that looks like when it's done, because it's boring. This was already arguably boring. But anyway, I'm going to have some game states, so I'll just make one. Oops. Yeah, just a little bit of scaffolding, I guess you'd call this. So there's going to be a startup game state for sure. I always need that. I have my own framework, and I'll show you how that works. I haven't published it, but it has a notion of game states and moving between them, and it sets up the dependency injection and everything. It actually uses AutoFac rather than Microsoft's dependency injection, so I'll be using AutoFac. It doesn't matter, but I happen to need a particular feature of AutoFac, so I did try to go back to Microsoft's just to use a simpler, lighter weight one, but yeah, it was missing a feature. I might revisit that some other time. Doesn't matter, off topic. The other thing would be, let's just call it running around, and I just want to test running around. And these are going to need to implement game state interfaces and do some other things that I haven't done yet. This I'm not going to call program, I'm going to call it like startup, so or bootstrap, let's say. This will get the application starting. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording here. I worry this was maybe a little bit boring. Next video, hopefully there will actually be graphics running around. I'm going to get like the projects all referenced, the silly content file in, all that stuff. I don't know why I'm calling it silly. Whatever, I'm going to get all that stuff in, and then I'll kind of run through it real quick in the next video, and then I super promise graphics within the next 15 minutes, or within the 15 minutes of that thing. All right, see you then, I hope, and until then, goodbye.